I am so thrilled today to have Nada Hogan with me. Nada's life is proof that you can survive devastating loss and use it to come out and benefit others. An acupuncturist with a master's degree in traditional Chinese medicine. And not only does she help people heal physically, but she's also a certified life coach and helps people to thrive emotionally and spiritually. Her website, nadahogan.com, is amazing. And her motto is turn epic loss into an epic life. Nada, your story is tremendous. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened and how you have overcome it to become such an amazing life coach and healer?
Oh, well, thank you, Ruthie. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm so grateful to be here with you. I just love your energy. I love being in your presence. So 12 years ago, 12 and a half years ago, my 18-year-old daughter, Dara, was killed in a car accident, no fault of her own. And not that that would even matter, but she was at an intersection and a man ran a red light and hit and killed her instantly. And the thing, Ruthie, that always is so astonishing to me, and why my life moved forward, was that should have devastated me and taken me out, completely taken me out. She was my shining light. She was that great kid that if you said come home at 9 o'clock, she was home at 8:59. She wasn't perfect by any means, but she just didn't get into trouble. And she loved people and she loved older people. And she just was that great soul on this planet. My son had gotten into a lot of trouble, just bad life choices with drugs and alcohol and hanging around not the best people. My husband and I were in the middle of figuring out, do we get a divorce or how are we going to do this? So my whole entire life was just a shambles. And then my daughter's accident. And the thing that was so amazing is I just felt a presence of her. There was just I don't know how to explain it except to say there just always was this presence of her out here, but inside, where it was almost like the accident broke open this light that was inside of me, but was just being shut down from what I thought was outside circumstances. It was just me not handling life circumstances well. And after some time, I just started putting one foot in front of the other and knowing that her death just couldn't be in vain. It just couldn't be in vain, that you can't live for almost 19 years and do good to have it all just snuffed out for no reason. So I just kept putting one foot in front of the other. And then I would hear her say things like, go to acupuncture school, do something fun. And so that's how I got into acupuncture school. And I would see her in the halls of the school. So what was I, 45 or 46 when I went back to school? And do you remember Aunt Dora from Bewitched?
Aunt Dora?
Aunt Dora.
Aunt Dora.
Aunt Dora, the mom. Bewitched.
The mom. Yes.
Yeah. And she would just kind of show up and she'd lay on the couch like this in her purple and green and all of her makeup. Well, I would see Dara in the hallways at school showing up like this and just looking and saying, what are you doing today to make me proud? Not in a boisterous kind of way, but in a way, are you living your life? Because I'm in a great place, Mom. Are you living your life down here? So she would show up in places and it just always beckoned me forward to move on. So that's how I got into acupuncture. And then when I was doing acupuncture with clients, I was recognizing that if they didn't matter if it was physical pain or gastrointestinal, or if it was a woman who had female issues and everything was off, there always was an emotional block that was locked in there somewhere. It if we could find that emotional block, then the acupuncture needles would work wonders. So I started coaching just how I knew to do it. And then I went off and got certified with the Brave Thinking Institute with Mary Morrissey, and became a dream builder coach and a life mastery consultant. And from there, since I've been doing coaching, now I've gone on and I'm certified under Dr. Sue Morter with energy codes facilitating, because it's all energy. And so it's working with all this beautiful energy that we all are and we all have, and helping that to move smoothly so we can live these phenomenal lives in this beautiful, wonderful, fabulous place that we call our world, our planet.
That is magnificent.
Thank you. I think so many of us think that there's nothing so special about my life. I don't have anything to offer, or there's a million people doing that, so they don't want to hear what I have to say. And I've yet to ever meet one person in this world that is doing work that they love doing, that hasn't touched another person's life.
That's right.
We every single one of us we're so needed just in the capacity of what we are. We're so, whether it's our work or it's just being the neighbor or just the person going for a walk down the street that smiles at another person in passing, because you change somebody's complete day just by giving them love, by smiling. Because we all have such great worth to offer.
That is wonderful. You mentioned that when you experienced that sense of light, that your daughter was still there, that she was like inside of you now, or around you, or all over, and that then you could focus on the energy rather than just like walking around and she's in her body and you're in your body, and you're all worried about different things, it became something that was more all encompassing in your life.
Yes,
The
absolutely.
spirit.
Yes. And it's funny because I had said probably 3 months after her passing to an older woman that she worked with at a grocery store, and we were at a Christmas fair, and I said, it is so weird because even though it still breaks my heart, but I feel like I'm with her more now than I was when she was here alive, because she was off with her friends and doing her stuff, and there was just a constant presence of her all of the time, and always beckoning me forward. It's like, no, get up, go do something, go do this, like live. I'm so fine. You have no worries for me. You go and live. And so that energy was just so surrounding me and inside of me. And it's one of the very first times that I really understood energy. I heard of energy. I kind of had an idea what energy was, but didn't really know. In fact, can I share a story with you?
Love to hear it.
So when I was in acupuncture school, a year and a half into it, so it was 3 years to get your master's degree, because you already had to have all your prerequisites done. So a year and a half into it, my hands started, what do I want to say, like almost eczema or psoriasis, where they were peeling and splitting and breaking and bleeding, like not just dry skin, because I couldn't even put lotion on them. They were horrible. I'd have to slather them with Vaseline, put them inside of socks, and sleep like a little kangaroo at night. I did everything Chinese medicine wise. I had the best Chinese doctors working on my hands, taking medicine, doing acupuncture, everything. Even Western medicine was not able to clear up my hands. So an American acupuncture doctor asked me, one of our supervisors said, "What do you think it is?" And I said, "I think I'm grieving the loss of my daughter. And I'm holding it inside, and that grief is trying to come out, and it's coming out in my hands." So she prescribed a formula for me that's all about, in Chinese medicine, we call it warming the womb. So if you at the baby palace, if you're going to have a baby, the womb is called the baby palace, and we use it for fertility. And I said, "Oh my God, like I don't want to take this formula. I don't want to get pregnant again." And she said, "No, but it's the trauma from that trauma of losing your daughter, but energetically you two are still so connected, but your womb doesn't know that. and it's cold. So when we warm the womb, that will help your hands to heal again. So this is the God's honest truth. I took the formula, and in less than a week, my hands got better. They actually completely cleared up. And then she tweaked the formula that she kicked herself for. She tweaked the formula, and then my hands went back, and it took a while for them to straighten out again. But that was the first time I ever really understood that energetic connection. Even though, you know, when you have a baby, you're always connected to them. You just know things.
Yes.
But I didn't know it on this kind of a level. It was
Right.
just so different. So it was like, oh my gosh, like, who knew? It was
Yes.
amazing to me. It was
How did your daughter know that you wanted to get into acupuncture, or how did that happen?
so it's funny because so 3 years prior to her accident, my father was having some physical ailments, and he lived in Montana. So my sister called in an acupuncturist, and the acupuncturist came in and did one treatment, and it was a gastrointestinal problem, and in one treatment it completely cleared it up. Now that's not normal. That's not the norm, but it can happen. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's magic. I want to be an acupuncturist. And my daughter was with me, and she's like, that's cool. Like, be an acupuncturist. I love that. Well, I called the school to find out how many years, because I thought I have a background in occupational therapy, in the occupational therapy field. So I thought, well, I've got everything. This is like a 6-month program.
Oh,
And
yeah.
no, it's a master's degree. You got 3 full years, and because you got to study Chinese medicine. So it's like, oh, forget it. Like, I'm not going back to school for 3 full years. That's not going to happen. Well, then after well, actually, right before, probably a month before Dara's accident, she asked me, are you ever going to have a cool job again? Because at that time I was a behind the wheel driving instructor. And I said, I'm a behind the wheel driving instructor. You don't think that's cool? And she's like, no, occupational therapy, that was cool. Behind the wheel, not so cool. So then after Dara passed away, I watched after my dad for about 6 months, just so I could keep my head. I needed to be busy and my head buried into something. So after my father went back to Montana, I knew I needed to do something, and I didn't know what it was. And bam, acupuncture just popped into my head, and I could hear Dara immediately going, that's cool. And I said acupuncture was. I mean, I knew they stuck needles in, but I knew nothing about acupuncture. I completely went on absolute blind faith, and I just had that support of her behind. And always I hear her saying, now that's cool. Now
That's wonderful. I
yeah.
am so thrilled that you did. Not sure if you've heard of Christian Mickelson. He's a fellow who teaches coaches and
Yes,
certifies them.
I've gone through his program. I
Oh,
like it.
good. Well, when he does his instant miracle techniques, he mentions that all trauma is stored in the body, because we don't realize it, but it's blockages in the flow of the energy, right? And
Yes.
so the wonderful thing about acupuncture is that you can find the spot that needs it, and basically with the needles, they go in and they break up the congestion, and then they release the energy. Am I getting that correct? They're
Yes,
releasing they
yep.
release and they get the flow back into that area that was congested.
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
right? Okay, because I've taken acupuncture and had that done to me, and I know it helped, and I at the time I didn't know why it was working, but now I understand it's all part of like allowing the flow into your entire being, and so you're not restricting things.
Absolutely, 100%. And as soon as you can identify what that is, and as humans, we like to say, oh, I just get headaches. I don't know. They just started. They're not related to anything. I just get headaches. And the doctor says it's because I don't have enough blood flow to my brain. It's like, you don't just get something. Your body's trying to wake you up and let you know there is a block. You're off course somewhere. And as soon as we identify what that is, we can get it, because you could put needles in people from now until the end of time. And sometimes they'll get better just with the needles. But at least what I found in my experience, if you couldn't get to the root and what that energetic block was, they might get better for a little bit, but it just shows right back up again. It's like pulling
Yes.
weeds in a garden. You can pull them, but you're always going to be pulling. And you just want it to be fertile ground of what it is that you want to grow. And I would have to say, without a doubt, at least 95% of all of the clients that I saw, once we knew what that emotional block was, whether it was a headache or menstrual problems or gastrointestinal or just like musculoskeletal pain, it's just like, oh, I just have this pain in my shoulder or my hip and it's because I'm a runner. No, if that was true, everybody would have a pain in their hip because they're a runner. It can't be true. There's something got locked in there. Energy got locked in there, and we just want to move it. The good news is your body's letting you know. Now it's in your conscious awareness, and we can do something with that. So you can always trace it back, and each body part, of course, represents something.
Yes.
So your hips, right? Like we store a lot of trauma in our hips, and about moving forward. Hips are about moving forward also. So when things like that happen, it's like, oh, what are you afraid of to move into your life? Or what's the trauma? There's some kind of trauma that's being held here. And and it can be that little boy in first grade that said, you're a big stupid dummy. And you're like, okay. And for whatever reason, you just took it on. It's like if you're playing jacks. Do you remember jacks? The little things?
Sure.
So, and this is what I think of, because as little kids, we would sit with our legs sprawled apart and our jacks, were playing with our jacks in between. So in that kind of a position, if somebody says something to you that just hurts and lands in you, it can easily land and lock right in the hips because we're sitting with our legs spread apart, just playing an innocent game. But because of that position, and especially being a woman, it's a very powerful place for that to lock up. And then all of a sudden, it's in the subconscious. It's not in my conscious mind. Oh, little Jimmy said this to me, and that's why I'm having this hip pain. We just don't relate it back that far because our conscious mind can't remember all of that. But we can tap into the subconscious and we can get that information. And all of a sudden you start going, oh my God, do you know what this is? It's that time that person said blah, blah, blah. And I took it on as truth. And what a relief to know that, because that's not it at all. And my pain is gone, or my stomach feels better, or my anxiety is gone, or my panic is not here. It's the most beautiful system. We live in the most, inside of this body, we live inside of the most beautiful system that answers us all the time. It's always giving us information.
That's wonderful. And I love the fact that you have this great combination so that you can combine the physical and the spiritual. And that is so rare. How many of us have been to doctors? They just want to give you the pill. Goodbye.
Yeah. It's not good. Yes. Being able to combine the both of those, it's everything. I mean, once I was able to land on both of them and understand what's happening with the science and the spirituality of it, it's just like, it's a game changer. It's just a game changer. And a lot of people are still a little bit like, I don't know. I think I just have a sore hip. So I just make that pain go away. And it's like, well, number one, I can't make it go away. I can assist. But if you don't, and this happens too, if you don't believe in acupuncture, because sometimes I'll get men who are sent in by their wife and they'll say, I don't believe in any of this, but I'm here because I don't want to start an argument. And they'll get a little bit better, but they won't receive the full thing. It's like anything else. If I don't believe it to be good for me, or if I don't believe that this is something that I'm going to enjoy, I'm going in with a mindset that says no. And we don't get to enjoy all of it because the subconscious is like, okay, we don't like this. So let's not be in full enjoyment of that.
Right. They're not letting the flow in.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like that little kid being pushed up at the table saying, eat your peas and carrots. You can't leave the table till you eat your peas and carrots. And you're like, oh, so
Yes, and
you,
and
you
and th that reminds me of that funny statement where the mom says to the little kid, "Sit down," and the little kid says, "Okay, but I'm standing up on the inside."
that's the best. That is the best. I love that. Yes.
Oh, well, this is what blows my mind. You must have had some kind of uh, wonderful upbringing or something that allowed you to go forth and not become devastated. Like you said, you could have gone under with the depression and the sadness
Yeah.
when after your daughter passed away, but you didn't. So I'm wondering, what was it in you besides the love of your daughter? What was it that enabled you? What were your early experiences? Somebody must have planted some good things in you.
Yeah, yeah. So, I there's not anything in particular that I can remember. My mom was always very optimistic and very just believe the best in everything, every situation. And there's just a silver lining to everything. You just have to look at it. And my father was more, what do they call them? More realistic, which I think he just saw things more black and white,
Mhm,
where my mom in my world was more realistic because there is a silver lining to everything. And
mhm.
I think I was born just optimistic. I think I just naturally was optimistic and always wanted to see a good side of a situation. And they were great parents. And maybe one of the things that helped too is I know when my mom passed away, she passed away before my father. And I was at the cemetery with my dad and I was crying and I said, I just hate being here. It makes me so sad. And my dad said, well, Nada, it's part of life. Death is just part of life. And I don't know if that was a and not to be afraid of it. And, because if we were to just die and then that was it and there was nothing else, it would suck. I mean, I don't know how else, it would just suck. And I think I always believed there had to be something so much more than
Mhm.
just do this thing, go to school, get a job, get married, have kids, retire, and then go on vacations and then die and like, whoop, that's it. It's like, that doesn't seem right at all.
Mhm.
So I think I had a knowing of that always, that there was something more. And I think my mom's optimism, I know I tapped into her a lot and would say, what would you do? What would you do? And I know it was always, you put one foot in front of the other, you put one foot in front of the other, because I knew innately and deeply that I knew more than anything that her death had to have meaning. That,
Mhm.
that accident had to have profound meaning. It could not be just a coincidence that some man's at an intersection the same time my daughter is.
Mhm.
And I truly believe that. I've always believed that there is no such thing as coincidences.
Right.
It's all synchronicity, that everything happens with a divine hand involved in all of it, and even the things that are most painful. So
Right.
um, I,
That's
I I
wonderful.
think I had a basis in that before
Yes.
we got to this place.
Yes.
So
Well,
yeah,
your mom definitely planted the seeds
yeah,
of optimism in you, and they grew. And this is what's so amazing to me when I think of how plants grow and you observe, and when if you've ever done any kind of gardening, it's like when I think of how sometimes uh, plants need a little fertilizer.
yes, yes.
And what, like it can either make you or break you when these things happen in your life, but sometimes they are like fertilizer that boost your growth in such a weird way. You would never imagine that something bad could turn into something good.
Absolutely.
But now you're blessing all these people, and your daughter is cheering you on from the
Oh,
sidelines and from all around you, and
yeah.
probably so happy that you are able to bless not just her, because you did give her the opportunity to come through you.
Right. Yeah.
You've blessed other people beyond what you would have ever done if something like this hadn't happened, even how bad it was, you know.
Yes, exactly. And I know it always sounds weird when I'm saying that, but
Mhm.
I do believe we have soul contracts. I do believe that somewhere along the line she said, "Yep, I'll do the work that I need to do in my 18 years." And then I said, "Okay, I'll be the mom that has a daughter that's only here for 18 years, and we'll find a way to do something beautiful with that will help and serve other people."
That's right.
Because there's people in my life who have lost children, and it's the death of the whole family, and
I
there's
know.
nothing sadder than that. I mean, it's bad enough to lose the one, but then to lose a mother or a father who is still walking through the world, but inside they are so disconnected and so dead. It's like, and to me, I just knew there had to have been somebody in my life early on, I would imagine, that I witnessed that, because I just knew that you never honor that person that
Mhm.
passed away by doing that. You don't get to know anything about the person.
That's
And
true.
yeah, and it's not saying that it's wrong or bad. I'm not saying that, but I just knew for me that I just knew that I I don't
She
want there to
wouldn't
be
want
two deaths here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
wouldn't have wanted you to just throw your life away in
Oh,
sadness.
no. No.
Mhm.
I'd be hearing a completely different story from her, that's for sure. She'd be lit
Wow.
get
Well,
up, get
right,
out of bed.
right. Well, Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda, I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He was 100 years ago, he was like the yogi who came over to America from India, kind of like the link between the East and the West,
Mhm.
because he loved Jesus. He saw God in all religions and
Yeah.
all great spiritual teachers, and the light that they all had to give. So he really was a unifying force. And he even mentions that a person has a certain amount of time on earth, and that's it. It's very rare that it gets extended, and sometimes it has, like there have been weird experiences where a person prays really hard, please, whatever, and then they get a little bit more time or something. But that basically we have a certain amount of time, and you're right, she accomplished what she had to do in that time, and thank God. And then now you're accomplishing what you're supposed to do too. So that's
Yes, yes.
good.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And through means of Dara. And what a blessing is that, right?
Yes.
So,
Mhm.
yeah, it's a beautiful blessing. So she just lives on. She just keeps living on. And I'm so good with that. And not in a weird, creepy kind of way, but
Uh-huh.
I can say her name without people saying, "Oh, are you going to talk about your dead daughter some more?" Because people get tired of hearing it if you're just in that place. But now I get to share it in a way that's so empowering, and
Mhm.
and helps other people
Right.
to live their life to their fullest.
Right.
And like,
Mhm.
what better gift.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your life coaching, what you do?
So with the life coaching, it is, in the business world, you're always supposed to have a niche.
Yeah.
And my niche is everybody. It's people who just want something more for life. I do work with people who have lost a child or lost a loved one, but it's any kind of loss of a dream, loss of the ability to believe in myself, loss of knowing that I have any worth at all, that I knew I had worth, but then life experiences and now I don't have worth. So the coaching is all about working with people who who want more, who know that there's more, but don't know how to get there, and just can't go another day living this humdrum same old kind of life, and they know that there's something more, but they can't put their finger on it.
Right.
So they're the ones, and it's tying energy in with that and allowing people to realize that when you're using your imagination, we use our imagination all of the time, but usually we're using it against us. 99% of the time, it's the worst case scenario. So if I was to ask this woman out on a date, more than likely she's going to say no, and she's going to look at me like this, and I'm going to feel like a fool. And it's like, what if it was the complete opposite? And helping people to step into knowing that you cannot want for anything if it's not meant for you to have it. And if you're not to have that thing, it's only because you're to have something bigger and better than that thing.
Wow.
So, yeah. So the coaching is all about helping people, literally helping people live an epic life, because every this whole entire planet is abundant. If you just think about one ear of corn, one ear of corn has, like, I don't know, I'm going to be on the low side, 100 kernels, 100 kernels. Then if you took every one of those kernels, you could plant out of one cob of corn, one ear of corn, one ear of corn, you could plant 100 more corn plants from one ear. Total abundance. Like being their seeds, total abundance. Animals, oxygen, right? Sunlight, darkness, total abundance in everything. But we start taking on these crazy beliefs that there's not enough for me, there's not enough love for me, there's not enough, there's not a good enough job for me, there's not enough money for me to support my family, there's not enough time. And it's like, we just need to learn how to work with that, because there's universal laws that are invisible, and we know them. Gravity, it's a universal law, it's invisible. So if we can start thinking of, there's the physical part of us, and then there's an invisible side of our nature. And we start to tune into the invisible side of our nature. And it is those synchronicities that happen that you could not make happen. And job offers show up, the relationship shows up. All of a sudden you say, I don't want to work a 9 to 5 anymore. I want to start my own career. I want to be my own entrepreneur. And all of the things that you need just start showing up for you. Or I want to heal from this devastating loss of a loved one. And you find the way to do it in a way that serves you and serves your family and serves the world. Because whenever we're happy, I think we serve the whole entire world. It's that huge ripple effect. So
I think you're absolutely right. And I love on your website where it says your heartbreak can heal you, and how to build an epic life from epic loss. Now that is just wonderful, because I think who hasn't been through some kind of loss? To have you out there that to reach out to, and then the people can get help and pull them out of the pit,
yes,
that
yes,
is
absolutely.
wonderful,
Yeah.
because you've been there.
I say, and I love helping people to be able to dream. Because one of my biggest dreams was to own a house in the Black Hills in South Dakota. I don't know if you're familiar with the Black Hills,
I've
but it's,
heard of it.
oh, it's sacred. It's such a sacred place. And I just love it over there. I love it over there. And that was one of my biggest dreams. And I always wanted to have a house over there, but knew it was never possible for me. I don't know anybody who owns 2 houses, and I don't know, it could never happen. And I just said, well, you know what? If this work works, the coaching that I'm doing, if this work works, then I should be able to find a way to have my house in Minnesota and own a house in the Black Hills, because I want to do workshops and retreats teaching all of this information. And in 2019, that was just last year. In 2019, we bought a house in the Black Hills that is perfect to do the workshops and retreats. So it's being able to say no to those voices in our head that say, no, you can't do that. That costs too much. You're dreaming too big, right? I mean, just like the picture behind you, Walt Disney, my goodness, right? A huge dreamer. And we should be dreaming. We should be dreaming up bigger dreams than we tend to dream what I know that I can do that, and my dream's going to stay within this small of a box. And it's like, no, like you dream big, big. Yes.
Well, that is beautiful that you said it so well. When you get a dream, it's because God wants to manifest it through you.
Yes, yes. And you're the only one that can bring it. You are the only one that can bring it. That's why that dream landed on you. That's why I didn't dream to be a ballerina. That
No,
wasn't the right dream for me. The dream for me was to help other people live their epic life. And it will bring you such passion. And
yes,
then we don't have to shove it down. And then we don't have anxiety. And
yes.
then we don't have this pain that's showing up because
Mhm.
that energy is free flowing and moving through us. And we start realizing I'm living in a universe that's on my side, that's
That's
in my
it.
favor, that life is truly expressing through means of me, that it
Yes,
needs to express, and it needs us to do the things that bring light to us and bring life to us. We're
right.
living our life on purpose. And seriously, Ruthie, how could there ever be a war? How could there ever be arguments between neighbors when you're doing everything that you love in your life? We're
Mhm.
just like, okay, cool, no problem. I'll help you out with this. And I'm not angry with the things or frustrated with the things that I was before because oh my gosh, your life just feels so good. I don't even have time to be upset or to be frustrated. I
That's
just
right.
want other people to feel so good. I mean,
That,
yeah, it's the most beautiful way to live, the most freeing.
right on. It's the false beliefs that hold people back from actually the good that God wants to accomplish through us. It that we imagine might be a fantasy, but it's not. It's what God wants us to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. And you know what's so cool too is quantum science has now proven that thoughts literally move the molecules that make up this world. So this space that looks like is empty between me and the computer screen, it's not empty at all. It's loaded with subatomic particles. And when we have a thought, those molecules start arranging themselves in alignment with what you're thinking. So if
Exactly.
I'm thinking I could never have it, it's never going to work out for me, I'm going to be sad and depressed and alone all of my life, then that's what we will attract back to us because that's how the universe works. But nobody taught us this when we were young.
Right.
Or if it was taught to us, we started losing it once and no offense to the school systems, but really it gets trained out of us. Sit down, put your head down to your paper,
Yes.
listen to what I'm saying and regurgitate what I said back to you. And we forget how to dream and we
Right.
shut down that part of us, that imaginative, just full of energy and life and dream child gets
Yeah.
shut down to like, this is the real world. In fact, have you ever done that or said that or heard somebody say that? They go on vacation
Yes.
or it's the weekend and they come back on Sunday and they go, well, back to the real world. I know I used to say that all the time. And it was like, oh, this is my real world. Like I can live in any mindset, feeling in my body any way that I want to be. If I'm doing a job I don't want to be doing,
Right.
I can think of a new job that would bring more life to me. But the real world is exactly what you want to make the real world to be. Some
Right.
people live in a war 24 hours a day in their head, and
Oh,
other people live in paradise 24 hours out of the day. So
oh
it's
my
how we're
gosh.
choosing to see the world. Yeah.
Yes. And that's proof right there, that the kingdom of heaven is within you.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Yes.
That
Yeah.
is wonderful. That is marvelous. I just love everything that you express so clearly because it's life, it's truth, and it's the most important thing that people need to remember so that they won't. What do they say? Uh, don't believe half truths because you might believe the wrong half.
I love it. Yes. Yes.
And
Oh,
we
yeah. Yeah,
yes,
exactly. And to that, because I remember my mom, I would ask my mom, like, what is this life thing all about? And I just don't understand this. And she would say, we're here to do God's work. Well, I was a little kid and work for me meant like it wasn't fun. I had to set the dinner table or I had to wash the dishes or I had to make my bed. It was something that's like, okay, well, this isn't any fun in my whole entire life. This is what I'm supposed to do. Like, I want out. I don't like any part of this. But I didn't realize, and I heard Bob Proctor say this, and this has stuck with me for, I don't know, decades, when he said, we are made in God's image, and God is a creator. God's the creator. So if we're made in God's image, then we also are creators, and we're creators of our own life. Where I think so many times we go through life as victims. Whatever life throws at me, I am a victim to what life says. It's luck of the draw. And no, it's not. No, it's not. It is absolutely what you make of it. And if you don't like the direction your life is going, you're the one that gets to drive that energy and drive it in the direction you want it to be. So you can be living the life of your dreams. Like, I have said for years, I don't want to be in Minnesota during the winter. I don't like the cold. I just don't like the cold. But I never truly believed that I could live, like I could be a snowbird. I never believed that to be true. And 3 years ago, we were gone for 2 months in Arizona for January, February. Prior to that, it was Florida and Mexico. And then last year we were in the Black Hills. And this year our circumstances are a little bit different with COVID. So travel is just a little bit goofy right now. But next year we're already planning, where do we want to be? Hawaii, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Costa Rica, Brazil. I don't know. We're going to figure it out. But it's changing that belief system and saying, it is available to me. Why would it not be available? Why would God make this planet that's so diverse and so beautiful to put you in a place to say, well, you just get to stay stuck in winter all of your life. And you have no choice. I just don't believe that's true. I believe that we get to create the life that we would love.
So you're able to give this great truth out to people who have never heard of these other people,
Isn't it great? Yes, there's so many people on this planet that we just don't get to know all of them.
And that's why we're all important where we are. We'll touch those people around us that nobody else will touch. So Charles Stanley, though, somebody asked him about, like, what if I'm praying and it's not God's will? And he said, hey, wait a minute. What you're praying for, is it against the 10 commandments? Are you going to try to kill somebody or steal something? Whatever it is, if it's not against God's will in the 10 commandments, maybe he gave you that desire. So pray for it and see, God, it's this or something better.
Absolutely. Yes. And that is so true, because there is, in my own life and in so many other people that I know, when it's just like, oh, I was asking for this and I didn't get that. And sometimes we don't even realize I didn't get that because I got this instead. And this is so much better. And I'm busy thinking I didn't get that, but this was the best thing that could have happened. And we just don't even recognize it sometimes because it didn't come in a package with a big, pretty bow on it saying, delivered from God. This is better than what you were actually asking for. So it's a matter of being awake and aware of what is happening in my life. And am I actually getting the things that I've been asking for? And they're even on a bigger scale, but I didn't even recognize that. Because sometimes those no's to those things aren't even no's. It's just, this is better. Never not. It's like, this feels really good over here.
Yes. I love it.
Yep, absolutely.
You have spoken truth.
Yeah. Thank you.
Do you speak Chinese?
I do not. No.
Really?
No.
So you learn all the acupuncture stuff in English.
So over here, everything in English, yes. But there are a lot of people that will go to China to study traditional Chinese medicine. And depending on what school you go to, they will teach it in Chinese.
And you actually had to study in a school in China at one point, right? You had to go there and.
Yes, we didn't have to. I chose to go over, which was awesome. I mean, it was fabulous. And I mean, they are, it is, as Americans and in the American school, even though it was hard work, there's a lot of leniency for us. There's a lot of leeway for us not to catch on right away. In China, the competition is so fierce that it's boom, you get it or you don't get it. It's like there's no second chances. And discipline if you're not in the classroom and in your chair by the time that door closes, don't bother going in. It's like, it's the most disrespectful thing that you could do. So, I mean, it was just like, I was always at attention. Like, I didn't want to be the one. Plus, I was in my 40s. Like, I don't want to be the one getting yelled at by the teacher. I did that in high school. So,
Oh, that's wonderful.
so yeah, very strict. Yeah.
Well, one thing that I wanted to make sure that we get a chance to hear a little bit more about, you have the ability to open up a person's dreams, like whatever it is that they thought was impossible. I think this is the most magnificent thing, that you can actually uh, get them back into connection to those lost dreams, because it's not only a loss physically, but it's the biggest loss is when a person loses their dreams.
Yes.
You have that, your big job, or the thing that you're facilitating people to do, is to get back in touch with their real higher purpose. And
Yes.
so, gosh, how can people connect with you? Because I think that people need this more than anything else. They need that chance to be lifted up and rediscover their own dream.
Yeah.
So how can they contact you to find that inner dream and get in connection with their life meaning?
Yes. So all they would have to do is just go to my website, nadahogan.com.
And
And there's three things that I offer right off the bat. One of them is free. It's a free week of the Daily Dara, which was named after my daughter. So it was just it's daring you to do something different in your life, to look at life differently, but with an action step, to do something, to challenge yourself, to say, I could do this differently. I could feel different about my life. I could grow into my dreams. And so there's daily things that show up in your mailbox. And in the free version, for 5 days, you end up with a video that's suggesting, giving you ideas of things that you can do that have meaning and purpose. It's not just, do this to kill time. And then I also have, which is free on Wednesday nights, alchemy crystal singing bowls every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. And it's just another way to tune into, for 10 to 15 minutes, just tune into yourself and, what is my dream? What is it that I really want, regardless of whether I can or can't? What is it that I really want? And just begin to know that again, because we forget our dreams. And then, of course, then I have the coaching, where we can do one-on-one coaching, or we can do group coaching. And I love it. I love watching people say, oh my God, I got the job that I never thought that I would have, or I'm in a relationship that I never thought that I'd be in, or I'm making more money now than I've ever made in my entire life. Because it's not the money. The money is just symbolic.
yeah.
It's the freedom. It's the freedom and I did it. I did that. It's that. So those are the three big things that I offer that would be online. And it's just all at my website, nadahogan.com.
I did get a chance to go on your website, and I listened to some of the crystal bowls, and oh my gosh, just with listening to the free samples that you have on there is like, oh wow, it just, well, what it awakens freedom, that like you said, inside of you, where you start to feel your own feelings, and you start to feel connected to a higher life, which I really love that. So you know what I like about your approach to helping people is that you give people practical, hands-on things you can do physically, whether it's the crystal bowls or whether it's the action steps that you take to break off into a new path. Because basically you're opening the pathways in the brain. So just like you're going through, a person has to go through a forest, those roads that are on the side of the forest, maybe you're so used to them, you're just like, okay, I'll go on that way. But those new roads that are just tiny pathways, you're opening them up so they can discover a new part that they never even thought about.
Absolutely. Yes.
I love
Yes.
it.
total possibility. Everything
Right.
sits in total possibility, just waiting for us to do something with it.
That's right. Well, I'm going to make sure I add the exact spelling of your website, NADAHOGAN.com, NadaHogan.com. And then they can find all those things, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
They sure
Got it.
can.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Nada. I really appreciate the time you shared with us all.
I am so honored. I just adore you, and I love being in your presence and the beautiful work that you do. And I'm so grateful to be here with you. So thank you so much, Ruthie.
Well, thank you, Nada, and we'll do something else fun again.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good.
Absolutely.
Well, until next time, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank
Okay,
you.
God bless you. Thank you.
God bless you.
We'll talk soon.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay.